So I'm just setting up outside. I've grabbed everything I need to begin this process of making an art journal. I'm just laying out some leaves that I collected the day before from a walk out at Mount Clay. I knew just looking at the leaves that they just felt so inspiring, like I had to just pick them up and collect them. Just the yellow and the brightness of them was really speaking to me. So I'm just shuffling some cards, asking for some messages to support the process. And I've got red family and pink angel. So it makes sense that the red family, because in connection to Mother Earth, red is very relevant because it's all to do with our tribe, our safety and security, our base chakra, and the red earth. So it's connected that way. And the pink angel is about bringing love into that situation. So I like to start with bringing love into that. So I'm just showing you some other art journals that I've made for just to give you some different ideas about where you could take your art journal process. So here's one I've made previously using watercolor paper. It's got a plastic cover. It's just a mixed media, smaller size journal. Then you can also just use recycled materials, so using empty cardboard boxes that you've got from home. And this one I've just put a beautiful bit of fabric on that I really love, the colours and the patterns, and also a boho bead that I'd made. So you can use, you can put fabric on a journal cover just using cardboard and using what you've got lying around home. And this was another journal that I made using watercolor paper, and this journal I made was to do with angel and angel colors that I would be working with. So I think I'm going to go with making that style of journal to use today. But you could also use, if you've just got art journals at home, you could buy a bought art journal either from an art shop or from a cheap shop. They also have great art journals. Just see what you want to work with, and anything you want to do is totally okay because it's your process, it's your creativity to do what you want. So I'm using this cover from one of my kids' old scrapbooks. So I've just taken the cover off of that, and I'm going to use this as my cover for my art journal. So I'm just putting some black gesso down. Black gesso is like the primer. So any other medium I'm using, it will form a good base for that. So I'm just covering. I've just covering the art journal. I've actually put too much paint on there, but it's actually, at first I thought, oh, that's a bit of a mistake, but as many of you will know, there really is no mistakes with art. It all leads to something that works out in the end. So sometimes it's just about going with it. So I'm just covering the whole journal with the black gesso. You can see too there I've got my little owl statue and the colour mirror essences there to support the process. Owls relate a lot to wisdom, so I've got that, I always want to be connected with that wisdom that we can have access to. So I'm just taking a baby wipe here, and I was trying to wipe some of the excess gesso off just because I had laid it down so thick. So that kind of gave me the idea because I could see some of the colour poking through. So I've just grabbed my paintbrush and turned it upside down. I'm just carving in a figure, which is allowing the colours underneath just to come through, which just are really catching my eye. And yeah, it's quite enjoyable to see the colours come through. The shape of the hair is inspiration from the leaves. I'm just scratching out here a female form and seeing who's going to come through. Sometimes it's very much just a process of allowing and not judging, and just allowing yourself to be free and play. At this point, I'm really just enjoying seeing those colours, like revealing the colours from the black, and having them shine through. So not really thinking about anything at all, just playing. I'm pretty sure this revealing the colours through the paint really just helped connect me to my inner child, because it was just so much fun to do. And to be honest, it was hard to stop scratching that black paint. I'm loving the colours that have come through and just noticing all the different colours. It's really got a rainbow feel to it. I'm just going to scratch in her face. I'm just doing a little nose and just making a mark where the two eyes are. There's nothing technical about this at all. It's just very simple, childlike creativity. And that's something we all have access to if we just allow ourselves that time and space to play and to connect. So up in this top corner, I am just putting in a sun. And also putting in a tree here as well. So the sun, I mean, obviously that relates to Earth hugely, because without it, the sun is our life force energy. So to have that as a symbol on my cover is important to me because of that. And here I'm just putting in a little bear. Bears, like owls, are an animal that often comes to me, and the bear to me is quite very nurturing, actually. So that's sort of symbolic to me, that, you know, to bring in that element of nurture along the way of whatever I'm working on, and to know that I have that support and that love. And the symbol of a heart usually shows up in my work as well. So I'm outside. I'm sitting down on the decking, actually, just out in the sun. So I guess, you know, in that sense too, I'm connecting with my inner child in that way, because, you know, kids will often play sitting down. They're not necessarily at desks or sitting at a table. So, you know, even that point of just sitting on the floor and creating can be a different way to connect with a different aspect of your creativity. Here I'm just still going crazy with just like scratching the paint, because it's just too much fun and I can't stop. So I'm just doing it and letting my inner child play. And if you don't like anything, you just paint over it. It's fine. It's just about being curious, exploring, having fun. So I'm just covering up some bits of black. Just scratching in some light, which is indicating the light around the feminine image. Just trying to figure out here how I wanted my bear's legs to be. So I've allowed that to dry, and while I'm waiting for that to dry, I'm going to get the paper together to form the inside of the journal. So I'm using this watercolor paper, which is an A3 size. So this paper is really good for holding lots of wet media, so you can use anything you want on it, and it's pretty sturdy. It can take lots of wet media. And I want to be able to have that choice in my journal of using whatever medium I want. So I could use watercolors, or I could use acrylics, collage, just a mixture of things, and the paper will hold it. If you wanted to make a journal which you were going to use just, for example, just journaling and perhaps coloured pencils, you might not need such a sturdy paper, and you can get away with using just a you know, paper that you've got at home, lying around at home, recycled paper or computer paper or something like that. You don't have to use watercolor paper, but yeah, it depends what you want to use your journal for and what mediums you want to use. So I need 8 sheets altogether, eight of these pages to make my journal. So that will give me 4 sides for each bottle that we are going to work on in the online class. So once you've folded all your pages and got them together, I just put 4 sheets together. And then I'm measuring to see where to put the holes for the journaling, so we can bind the journal. So I think it was about 30 centimeters. So I marked it at 6 centimeters, then 12, and then 18 and 24, so that there'll be 4 holes altogether. So when you fold your paper too, make sure that you've matched the corners up evenly and press down firmly in the middle. So once you've marked it on the first 4 sheets, mark again on the second lot of 4. So you're going to go 6 and 12, 18 and 24. So then you're going to need a sharp tool to poke the holes through. So I've got an awl. Just that's the easiest thing to use when you're making a journal, but just, yeah, be careful when you're doing it that you don't have your hand on the other side when it comes through, because that would be not fun. So just following the measured dots and then poking the holes through. So just do that with each of the 4 holes. Just being careful of your hand. If you don't have an awl at home, you might have something else that's sharp that you could use, like a skewer or a bigger type needle that might do the same job. So once you've done both of them, then I just put them together, put the 2 lots of 4 sheets together, and then just go through the holes again just to make sure that the cord's going to go through okay. So that's just allowed enough time for my cover to dry out in the beautiful sunshine. I'm just wiping off the dust and the dirt, but it doesn't really bother me because it's from the earth and this is an earthy album anyway, so that's all good. I'm not being precious about anything, just enjoying the process. I realised then that I hadn't measured up my cover to make sure that it was going to be the right size for my inside pages. So I need to do that now before I go any further and just get the cover the right size. So I don't want to take any off from her head, so I'm going to fold from the bottom. That's just my hair caught up in it. My hair seems to get in everything and everywhere, even when it's tied up. So just fold that over and then double check the size that it's going to fit. So that fits good. So now I can just glue that bottom part down, just using a glue stick here, but you could use gel medium. You could use tape, a sticky tape or a washi tape, just whatever you've got. Sometimes it is just about working with what you have at the time. You can still create something awesome. Okay, so now I'm just flicking through because I want to cover up the inside cover as well. So I'm just looking through some RACV magazines that come in the mail, and here I just saw, flicking through it, that there was photos from my hometown. So I thought I was quite drawn to them, and I thought they would be good to use in relation to grounding because this is my home, this is where I live. And as challenging as that can be and has been at times, it's still my home. So if I can use that as a symbol for grounding, that will be awesome. Looking through here too, and found some images of Uluru. I definitely was drawn to that, and I want to have Uluru in there because it's such a sacred energy site and place on Earth and in Australia. And I want to have the energy from Uluru supporting the journey through the GAIA bottles. So I'm just still looking for images that are about supporting what's going to be in the journal. So whether that be animals, places, special places, sacred spaces, words. I'm looking at words and the meaning of words that I want to bring into support as well. So, you know, I'm surrounded by coastline here and we've got lots of beautiful beaches. So I'm going to use some of those images as well. I'm really looking at the wind towers because that reminds me of my family, and my family is such a great support to me, so they're very grounding and loving. So I want to have that symbol in there to, you know, to help me feel grounded as well. So here's some more pictures of Uluru. So I definitely want to put them, you know, rip them out and put them in because I just want the one whole page on Uluru and that energy from such a sacred, special place that we have here in Australia. I was also looking at the camels too because of course the camels are beautiful and they're awesome as well, but really I was just couldn't go past Uluru. So have a think about if you want to do the inside of your cover with images of what's meaningful to you. So grab some magazines or whatever you can, and just see what speaks to you and how you can incorporate that into your journal being a supportive tool for you. So this was one of the images that I knew I had somewhere in my stash, and I was really drawn to using the deer. And the deer is really relating to earth as far as being gentle and nurturing as well. And I pointed out before too that this deer has a tag in his ear. So this deer isn't free as such. This deer is involved in farming, which really I was drawn to as well, wanting to give this deer a voice around animals' connection and space and place on planet Earth as well, because they're here with us, and they're such great teachers. Here I've moved inside, and I'm just tearing out the images. I had to move inside because there was a lot of noise going on outside all of a sudden. So I've moved inside. I've got the images that we're going to paste down, including the deer. I love the words field of light, Uluru, because essentially when we're working with the colours, that's what we are working with. There's so much light around us. We are light. The colours are light. The earth is in light and darkness all the time. Yeah, so I'm looking at these words, ready when you are, and thinking about that concept and what it means to me. So apply that to your own, what you're doing as well. Spirited away. Yep, love that too. So just see what you've got to work with, what the words are meaning, what the symbols are showing and telling you, what you want to incorporate. You might be looking at colours here too and seeing what colours are coming forward. So with the purple and the pinks, it's more like the spirituality side of things, and the yellow can be to do with the sun and joy and earth, and the blues to do with the water element and the sky. So all these things we're surrounded with that help us to connect. So I'm sticking the gannets up in the top corner because they're relevant to the area where I live. We have quite a big gannet colony here. So sometimes when I was doing this, I was aware that I was taking too long doing it, and I didn't want to spend too much time on it, sort of fussing with it. But, you know, at the same time, you just take as much time as you want. Go with your own feeling. But I will say too that it's not about perfection. Anything that I'm doing is not about perfection. It's just about the process and, yeah, what we get out of the process. So, you know, I might keep this collage as the inside of my journal cover, or as I go along, I might cover it up with other things, but this will still be the foundation under whatever I do, if I do add to it. So there's nothing wasted. There's no part of the process that's wasted. just using an old bank card to smooth out any bumps. I've just been using a glue stick to paste this stuff down, but you could use gel medium if you wanted to. Just whatever adhesive you have, but I would recommend using an acid-free glue stick if you are using a glue stick. You can also take it further too and Google or look up the symbology of what you've been drawn to. So, you know, there's so much to explore about Uluru and its meaning to Aboriginal people, what the relevance of that sacred space is, and how it relates to songlines and other areas as well that also have significance. I think it's just such a powerful symbol to be represented in my journal. You don't have to do collage on the inside of your journal. You might want to do a painting or a drawing or put some of your own poetry down. You know, there's no limits with your own creativity of what you feel drawn to do. Just go with that. So yeah, it might be even images out of newspapers that you get or other catalogues that you might get in the mail, or, you know, just look around and see what you've got. You never know where you'll find some inspiration. To me, this saying is about the universe. It's telling me the universe is ready when I am. It's ready and waiting for when I'm ready. That's been a bit of a revelation to me recently, so that those words really speak to me. I keep trying to incorporate these leaves in different aspects of the journal. It's so funny, but they really were such an inspiration. I kept wanting to use them. I'm just checking out about using washi tape on the inside of here, but I'm just like, no, that'll do for now. If I want to add to that later, I can. So I'm going back to work on the front cover of the journal. I'm looking through some recycled papers that I have just to, because I want to use them for the tree, just to add texture, bark-like texture and colour to the tree. So that involves more ripping and pasting, which is absolutely totally fun. And I don't know, I think I love that so much because, I don't know, you know, when we were little kids, cutting and pasting used to be such a huge part of being little, I guess. So I think that's partly why I just find it so relaxing to do that. You don't have to use collage for your tree. You could just, you know, you might not even be doing a tree. I'm using a tree because to me trees are just an integral part of Mother Earth and also us, and they'll be a big part of the journey of going through the Gaia bottles. And the tree is just, yeah, it can't be separated really from our experience here. So I'm using a gel medium to paste it down, but also to paste on top of it to seal it. So I'm just having fun, just pasting that down, not thinking about it, just putting it down, having fun. This recycled paper is kind of perfect for the tree as it's got different patterns and textures in it, and various earthy colours. So I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys are doing for your journal, and what was your inspiration, what was your connection. You saw that I started off with just a few leaves that I had collected on a walk the day before, which really gave me the energy and motivation just to inspiration to do this journal. So it only takes something little. It only takes a little bit of connection out and energy in a different space just to bring something to life. We've got to get out from our usual day-to-day routine. We've got to get out and connect with Mother Earth. Go to different places where there's waterfalls or beaches or forests, where we can get grounded and connected, and where we can hear. So you can see again, I'm trying all sorts of ways to incorporate these yellow leaves. I've tried for the sun, and now I'm putting it in her hair. And now I'm just trying to glue a leaf down. It's having some difficulty holding, but I've just noticed the texture of the print that the leaf left with the glue, and I really like that different texture. So that gives me another idea. Rather than trying to glue this down where it's not going to hold, I could use some paint to do some paint prints down that will hopefully have the same texture. So just got a baby wipe here and just removing that glue. Just looking for what I want to do with the sun, because I really felt like I wanted to make this a real tactile journal cover. So I was thinking about, oh, could I use some felt to make a pattern in the sun? But then I just decided just to put some yellow acrylic paint down. So here I'm trying to incorporate a spiral, because spirals are just one of my symbols that I use in my work. As many creative people do. I mean, there's a whole tribe of us that use the spiral, so I'll be interested to see how many people that actually join us on the group, whether that, what your symbols are that you use, and is the spiral one of them? What does it mean to you? What are your symbols? And what do they mean to you? So I'm just got some fluid acrylic paint here, some pink paint, which I'm going to try and do the prints for the leaves. And that's just so much fun just to do this process. I love it. So anything that you're doing that you're actually enjoying doing it, that's good self-care. It's good fun, and if we can allow ourselves to do more of that, then that's a good thing. I love using pink in my work. It's a color that represents love and nurture. It's very much about mothering, so it makes sense to use it here in that sense as well. So here I'm just looking at an old baby wipe that I've used in the past that's got some nice colors, and I was thinking, how can I incorporate that maybe into her dress or something, but then I decided not to go with that. But it's worth looking. Hey, it's worth checking out what you've got and feeling into what you want to do with it. So I'm just removing a bit of that yellow because I just decided I didn't really like that all that much there. Then I've just gone back to scratching the paint off with my nail, and that was just too fun. I really enjoyed that, and I like how that looked, so that's what it's going to be. And here I'm just using some water-soluble crayons, some Caran d'Ache water-soluble crayons. You don't have to use a water-soluble crayon, you could use just regular crayons or pencils. You could use paints, just depends what you're working on and using. So I've just got a couple of different colours that I'm just putting down. So there's a little bit of different colours in the bear. Put some gold down on the bear as well. So I'm just adding a water to activate the crayon now. And because it's on top of gesso, the crayon isn't actually absorbing into the paper, it's sort of just sitting on top of the plasticky gesso. I'm not too worried about that at all actually, so I just keep playing with it and just loosely colouring it in. I'm not so worried about how it's coming up, because the more childlike this is to me, it's pleasing. So I just enjoy the process and allow it to be what it is. So I'm just trying to scratch out a few marks again too, so you can just see the outline of the bear's arm. You can do as much or as little as you want on your cover. I definitely recommend having a baby wipe or a damp cloth near you so that you can wipe off anything that you want to wipe off that you change your mind about. That's just super handy. So I've got a pink water-soluble crayon again. I'm not going to activate this though because I love the colour that's showing up just from putting the pink down on the black. I love the colour, and I also just love the texture of it as well, and I don't really want to change that by adding water to it, so I'm just going to put it down and just leave it as is. This also too reminded me of things that I used to do as a child, and you might have also done this too, is remember, I don't know if you remember, but we used to trace over coins, so put a coin down on a piece of paper and then we used to get a pencil or a crayon and colour over it and get the print out on the paper. Which was like just so much fun back then. But I just love that's sort of what this process reminded me of too, just putting the crayon down and then seeing the different texture that's showing up on the paper. So yeah, I really just enjoyed that time, taking that time and colouring with the pink. And the pink is surrounding her, so it's like this whole process, she's completely surrounded in love during this process. And I guess really that's a lot of what I do. I mean, my work is mostly about healing. It's about a lot of love. It's about a lot of nurture, and all that sort of stuff. So it doesn't surprise me that that's, you know, that the love and nurture symbols are showing up and the colors that relate to that as well. This is one great thing too about having your own creative practice, that as you go, one of the opportunities it gives you is a chance to know yourself better, um, to understand yourself better, to work on your relationship with yourself and how you speak to yourself, and to have self-compassion and learn how to have a supportive voice, a supportive, loving, nurturing voice that can work with the critical, what we might call the critical voice, which we all have, but it's about learning new ways to work with that. So yeah, I guess working with crayons too is a very childlike memory, because as children we use crayons. Unless you get back into art when you're older, you probably don't really get the chance to play with crayons. So that's another really cool thing about getting your Create on, that it gives you a chance to connect with the inner child, and to play with some of the things that you might not have played it with it since you were little. So it's really, again, opening up that relationship to yourself, um, and to wonder and to joy, and that connects in with Mother Earth as well. So those things aren't separate. So working with the energy of Mother Earth can help us learn how to be kind and compassionate to ourselves. And in turn, that is also kind and compassionate to Mother Earth, which we'll talk more about in the online class, where we go more in depth about, this relationship and what it means for us. I had to really tell myself to at some point stop with the colouring with the pink, because I could have coloured in every single blank space with the pink crayon, and I nearly did. So I had to just say to myself, okay, just leave this little space over here that's got that, or that doesn't have the pink around it. So yeah, I had to have that little conversation with myself and try to get some balance there. It just was so enjoyable though. I hope you get whatever you're doing and how you create your journal. I just really truly hope that you have fun doing it. Maybe too, if you live with children or you have children that come and visit, you could also make an art journal with them. That could be they could be really inspirational as well in making a art journal, because kids have so much to teach us, because when they're young they haven't really lost their they haven't lost their way and their connection so much, so they can be quite just naturally in that space of what we as adults sometimes have to work to get back to or connect into. So sometimes even observing children or listening to them, or yeah, just listening to what they have to say and how they feel about things in the environment and the trees or butterflies. Children have so much wisdom to share if we listen to them. And that includes our inner child as well. So often we make things really complicated in our adult mind. And really, if we talk to the inner child, they often have such simple suggestions and solutions to things that we thought were so complicated in our adult selves. So I'm just putting some different earthy acrylic paint down on the tree just to give it a little bit more depth and texture and variation. So just some ochre colours and dark brown, and also some olive green. It's great to be able to use the olive green here, because the olive green really represents the nurturing feminine, the divine feminine energy that we all have within us, regardless of whether we're male or females. So yeah, to use the olive green feels essential actually for this journey. As we go through the series as well, we'll look more closely at the colours and the energy vibrations that we're working with. And what they're helping us link into. You can also pay attention to the colours that you're using in whatever you're doing, because the colours that we are intuitively drawn to or using in our work will be they give us a lot of information actually about what we're working with, what we've got going on for us at the time. So this will also be an exploration of colour. It's just such a joy to work with different colours, and to use your hands to work with the colours as well. So I've spread the olive green over to also go into her dress, because I want her to have the feminine energy, divine feminine energy and strength with her, as well as the pink. So as we go along in the journey, we'll see that there is, if you've seen another clip, you would have seen the other bottles that had the copper and the pink, or the copper and the olive green. And each of those color energies together will take us on a different journey into something that we can discover, uncover, heal. Something will be revealed. In each of these bottles is a message that we can connect into, and that's part of the exciting journey. Is we get to, if you bathe in the bottles, it will be an experiential thing, because the bottles work on a cellular level. So it's deep healing and shifts that can occur in our life to clear the way for more knowledge and wisdom to come through, to help us release anything that's blocking us from living our best life and being more in touch with who we truly are and who we came here to be. And it's such a I mean, there'll be some of you that have already, are deeply into your creative work, and you'll understand the benefits of going through this journey and how our work progresses and speaks to us and sort of tracks our ascension or healing journey. But for those of you that haven't started yet, I really encourage you to pick up some kind of creative process. Even if you've never done it before, there's no reason not to start now. So here I'm just putting some copper paint. Copper, I had to have copper in this because copper is the foundation of the grounding energy that we'll be working with and going through with this Gaia journey, which begins at number 1, incarnation, and will end with number 8, which is illumination, which is actually a magenta bottle, which will bridge us onto our next journey together. But for the time being, we're going to have this 8 bottle energy journey that we're going to go on together, which is just going to be it's going to be lots of things. I can't even say what it's going to be yet, because we haven't been on that journey. I've been on part of it, but I haven't been through the whole journey yet, so it's really just exciting to see what that's going to bring, and to be able to share it with people will be great too. So I'm just looking really now for a color that I want to bind the journal with. So I'm looking for a thread. I've got earthy colors there, and I just want to see what color is speaking the loudest about binding the journal, because our color choices are important. I'm not gonna lie, because they represent something. So color is it's everywhere in our lives, and if once we learn what colors represent, then we can be more aware of what we're choosing and what we might choose to help us at any given moment. So I've got an orange and a red, and they were really standing out to me because they were bright. Now I'm just checking out this beautiful earthy wool, but I think that's not bright enough for what I want. So I've decided to go with this red. This red is really actually quite bright. The video here isn't really picking up how red it is. But yeah, this was definitely the one I wanted to use, and it ties in with the color mirror card that I started off with, which was in the red, and it was the so yeah, I'll be interested to see what color you work with. So you don't have to bind your journal this way. You could do it in a different way. You could just use ribbons to hold it together somehow. Sometimes it can be easier just to work out what works for you. But if you've already put your holes in your journal and you want to do it this way, you could either use like a wax thread, or here I'm just using a big needle with just some acrylic wool. And so I've started in that second bottom one, and I'm just poking it through. I'm actually really not sure how I was going to do this. I was just seeing what works the best. I didn't really have a particular order or way that I was going to do this. So if you can follow what I'm doing here and you feel like that's going to work for you, great. If you're like me, you might find it easier just to do what's going to work for you. You might have a better way that you can bind your journal. But just make sure your needle is going through all the holes each page and coming out the other side. So that can take a little bit of patience and time sometimes. So once you've put it through the hole, just pull it tight, just so it's going to be a firm support. So I'm going back through over the other side of that cord now, and just making sure that the needle goes through all the holes and all the pages. Just want to make sure that I've gone through every hole and making sure that it's going to hold the pages in place. So I'm going back down to the second bottom hole now. So if I haven't explained this well enough, which I'm pretty sure I haven't, kept up with what I was doing, but hopefully you can see and get a rough idea of how to bind yours together, or just, yeah, like I said, go with whatever works for you. My theory is, as long as you've gone through every hole and it's supporting your journal and holding the pages in place, then that's good. That's what you want, as long as you're happy with it too. Just having a bit of trouble just getting that needle to go through all the holes at once, so sometimes you just have to go through page by page, making sure it's gone through. So yeah, sometimes if you're getting stressed with it, you just got to take a breath and just go, you can do it. Just bear with it. You'll get there. So because I've got it through each hole now and I feel like it's secure, I can just tie it off, figure out how I want to finish it off. So I do this just by tying a couple of knots, firstly in this part up the top, and I'm just having a think about how I want to finish it off. So I just tie a knot down. Sorry you can't really see it here, I've gone off screen, but just tying a knot down at the bottom. I mean, eventually when you work in your journal, this page will be completely covered, and the cord will just be incorporated into that. So don't worry too much about perfection here. It's just about making sure your journal is secure and that you're happy with how it looks. Later on we could also add, and what I might do later on too, as I go through working through the bottles, there might be a chance where I can make something that I want to link onto the journal. So whether it be some charms or a little miniature doll or something that I can tie onto the top of the cord, that's something we could do later as well. But we'll just see where that journey takes us. I love how it says the red center there, right in the middle, and that I'd used the red cord, so that was cool to see that. Don't you love how stuff like that happens when you're doing journaling? You never know what's going to show up. So here I'm just going through some scraps and just some different papers and cardboards that I've saved to use for something. And I'm thinking about making some little tabs to make the different sections of the journal so that we have a section for each of the bottles that we're going through. So that was the number 2 bottle I was looking at there. Oh no, it was number 5 actually, I think. Yeah, number 5. And I was just looking for the perfect colours to match that. So I'm just looking for 8 tabs to match each bottle. So you might either want to make the tabs up as you go, or you might do them all at once. It's really up to you what's going to work for you. So that one's a pinky and copper colour, so I thought this old incense packet might be nice because I really love the pink and the gold in that as well. So just looking really for some cardboard coloured tabs. So this is the back of a Breathe magazine. So this is card, so it's good for making your tabs because it's a bit stronger than just paper. So I thought I'll use that one with the trees and then looking upwards to the sun. That's just perfect for incarnation, and I love that visual. So just to give you an idea of just how to do the tabs, so just cutting out a square, which we're going to fold over and glue onto the page. So so you put it on the first page, and then every 2 pages after that will have a tab, because we're putting aside the 2 pages, which is 4 sides altogether, for one bottle. So the first 2 pages will be for G1 Incarnation. So I'm just going to use some glue to stick that down, and also I might use some washi tape as well. So you can find washi tape usually in cheap shops or craft stores. You can get it online. You could even use, just like if you wanted to use some form of tape, you could use pretty paper with plain sticky tape over it to make your own washi tape. Or you could not use it at all, it really doesn't matter. Up to you what you do and what what you want to use. So I just like this washi tape because it's brown and it just fits in with the earthy theme. Often your own handmade journal can have more meaning to you because you've created it from your own energy and inspiration and your own love, so it has that extra meaning to it, and it's special because you made it, and yeah, it comes from you. So I think that adds a really beautiful element when everyone's so unique in their own way, and I think that can be reflected in each of our own creativity, and we're all so different. Okay, so there we've got the first tab, which is for our first bottle that we're going to, our first online class, which is going to be the G1 Incarnation. So I've just got a black Posca paint pen here. You can use any pen. I'm just writing Incarnation, a G1. The G stands for Gaia, and the Gaia series is what grounds the whole colour mirror system. So that's another reason why it's perfect to start with the copper. What a journey this is going to be together. I'm really looking forward to sharing this with you, and I know Tanya is equally excited as well. So we hope that you will be able to join us and take this journey with us, receive your own messages and your own nurturing and connection. So there I found another tag that matches the other bottle. All nature's from images from nature, which I'm really loving. So we go 2 pages and then we put the next tab down, which will be G2, which is the core. So that'll be our second class after we've done incarnation. So I've gone a bit off screen here. What am I doing? I think I'm cutting off a tab for G5, Earth Wisdom. That's a bit better, you can see now. Yeah, so just cutting up another tab that matches the colours of the G5 bottle. If you want to know what the Gaia bottles are and what colours they are, you can always go to my website and look them up there at www.luluhealing.com. If you go to the colour mirror bottles, you'll be able to see the all the colours there. There's a nice little message. Live the life you've imagined. And hopefully that's what's going to happen for us. And what I've found too in working with the colour mirrors and the colour energy is that it really assists us in getting to that place where we are able to live the life that we want to live. And it's because we have this divine loving support with us, helping us to see more clearly what stands in the way of us actually living that here. Okay, so you can see those two match pretty good. So that will be the G5 tab. So you just work your way down the pages with your tabs and just see that they're spaced sort of not perfect, but you know, evenly, that you can see them all and number them all. So that will be number 5. So it'll sit about there. So I showed you in the intro part what that looks like once it's all the tabs are there. So thank you for watching this. I can't wait to see your journal or what you create from this. And please share it with us via Your Heart Healing's Facebook page. I'm just showing you some other colour washi tape you might like to use. And yeah, we'll see what we come up with. Thank you for joining us. I hope you've enjoyed your journal making. Bye for now.